Hello everyone, my name is Alicia Jackson, licensed professional counselor. Welcome to my channel. As today we are going to review Married at First Sight, Season 14, Episode 10. I cannot believe we have been through 10 episodes. This season seems to go by fast. We are doing a quick therapist review of each group, how we feel they're making it, if they are going to make it, what they need to make it, all that jazz. Before we get into it, of course, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and of course, comment below. What are your thoughts? Are you thinking about these couples? They have a lot going on. So sometimes, the story that they are experiencing can definitely be something that maybe you have experienced in a relationship. Or say, hey, if you were an expert, what would you do? How would you advise this couple? All right, so let's get into it. First couple that we are going to talk about is Noy and Steve. It was cute to see their love fest continuing to blossom this episode as, all of the couples are connecting with Dr. Viviana. And Steve and Noy are talking about how their physical connection and intimacy is really growing. And Dr. Viviana was asking about, okay, well, so now that it's happening, how do you feel about it? Are you fully comfortable? And Steve says that he is. And Noy is in a place of like, I'm getting there, not fully there, comfortable, and asked her what she needs to feel comfortable. And she talked about, how she has struggled, right, to be open with her feelings and how she kind of shuts down in conflict because in the past, she has lashed out in anger. And I actually just did a video about this week about anger and how it's a protective emotion. And oftentimes how it shows up, its voice, is really not how we want the other person to receive it. And so what we tend to do is have like another protector on the opposite end of the spectrum that is either going to say, hey, just don't say anything, or quiet it down, just breathe, it's going to be okay. And I think that that's something to do in the moment, but definitely Noy's going to have to find her voice in this relationship. And we see her doing it actually in the appointment with Dr. Viviana, which is great. She was able to talk about how when she left during Noodlegate, as people are calling it, that she didn't realize how much her actions impacted him. And so Steve was able to set this firm boundary with her to say, like, hey, this isn't going to work. I need you to communicate. I need you to speak your feelings. And so she did. She said, hey, I need to know what's going on with your financial situation. I don't know why Steve has this expectation of her to just 100% trust him without any data, without any proof. They are, if they were meeting in a traditional sense, I would maybe potentially give him a little grace in this area. But you're marrying a stranger at the altar. You don't know them. This is week 3 to 4. And so she's going to need to see something. She's going to need to see something from him. And the fact that he has been, hasn't given her anything, has really been taking on like the housekeeper kind of role and saying to her, well, hey, if you want me to work, then, hey, I'm not going to be able to cook and clean. And who's going to take care of that? I think Noy was right to call him out on the excuses. In my mind, I said, well, that's not really the reason why you say you don't want to work a full-time job. He wants the freedom and the flexibility of entrepreneurship and freelance work. Great, we can definitely have that. And at the same time, Noy's going to need some financial security and need some information from him. And so I don't know if Dr. Viviana was able to dive into that as to what it is that's making him be hesitant about sharing his information with Noy, or what Noy needs from Steve in order to be secure in this relationship. But it wasn't shown in this episode, but I'm hoping that they were able to kind of dig deep into that to really be able to give her the emotional and financial security that she needs. Steve through the episode, that he was talking about how, he's really in a place of love, right? For Noy, and same, Noy feels that for him. Okay. And so the technical things are the things that this couple really needs to work on, which is communication and really understanding where Noy is emotionally. He's very, Steve, where his strengths are, he's very logical and analytical. He's able to balance Noy. And at the same time, I'm wondering if he can use this logical, analytical mind to help him in the area of understanding what Noy needs from him. We shall see how this couple goes. I really feel like they're going to progress, but this is definitely going to be a roadblock for them. Next, we have Jasmina and Michael. And so Dr. Viviana comes to help them work on their communication. And they continue to have communication roadblocks during the appointment, which happens. And I think it's great for Dr. Viviana to see that and to really be able to work in the moment to kind of help them break down what's contributing to this roadblock of communication. And she had them push the restart button, right? And start over, which is a great tool to utilize, and they were able to kind of move through that hurdle. And at the same time, I'm hoping that she tried to help Michael and Jasmina kind of understand what's happening in those roadblocks, really what's happening. A lot of protection is happening, where Jasmina seems to be in this area of expert teacher in her relationship, where she feels like, hey, I don't need to do anything different. You need to do something different. When potentially she has some growing to do as well in the area of communication. A part of communication isn't just talking, it's listening. Listening is definitely a huge part of communication, and reflective listening, making sure that what you hear is actually what the person is trying to say. And that's really where I feel Michael and Jasmina need the most work. Having reflective listening, practicing listening to each other in a way, as Michael said, that Jasmina knows that they're on the same team. It was great to see them connect with the Tantra Yoga and have that moment of vulnerability and closeness with each other. Is super important, especially in the type of disagreements that Michael and Jasmina are having, in a traditional sense, right? In a traditional marriage that's not married at first sight. Something that would be helpful, is to, even though there are some spats that do happen, but still to remain closeness, to remain to touch, to maintain physical touch, to not have that barrier. Sometimes you are activated and your feelings are not there, and you don't want to do something that's not genuine, and at the same time you want to work through the conflict and also maintain the intimacy. This couple is a little painful to watch, just because they tend to kind of stumble over their own shoes, over their own feet, and get in their own way in their communication. And I would have really loved for Dr. Viviana to kind of work in this area with Michael and Jasmina. It was really, really great to see them end on a positive note, have some smiles, get into this jokey place again, and be willing to connect. I want to see where Jasmina can put down her defenses. She says she wants Michael to communicate, but isn't really listening to him to allow him to communicate. And even with the young ladies, when they did the aerial yoga, and she said, in order for me to say yes on decision day, this next month has to be amazing, because we've lost a month. And Lindsay was trying to help her reframe that, but she said, hey, I haven't learned anything. And I feel like potentially she hasn't been really in the seat or position to learn. She's been in the position of teacher, and I know that's her role in her career, and sometimes we have to take those hats off in order to be present with our partner. And so I'm rooting for them. I absolutely am rooting for them, just because they do have some great just because they do have some great connection there and great potential. And at the same time, I do see how they are in a place where they're still just protecting themselves from each other, instead of allowing the walls to come down to be connected with each other. So I don't see this couple making it past decision day, but I am still rooting for them. Absolutely still rooting for them. Next, we have Lindsay and Mark, and they have their visit with Dr. Viviana. She was, calling them to the table with these low blows that they have in the heat of conflict. And Lindsay in the after party, she talked about how, she vents when she's angry, and had a moment in the bathroom in the bowling alley, and when she was saying those really hurtful things about Mark, that she was just, that was what that situation was. I think, yes, blowing off some steam can be a way to process your feelings. And at the same time, I feel that Lindsay is a loose cannon. And so she's going to have to reel it in for Mark, especially in conflict. While you're even upset with your partner and it happens, there still needs to be a nurturing of the relationship and a protection of the relationship, and communicating your feelings in a place that your partner will receive it and not be a verbal attack. And Lindsay, she struggled. She struggled even during the visit, and they were talking about their intimacy, and she was saying some things that were hurtful. And Dr. Viviana called her out on it and said, hey, you don't have to, if you really want to work on this relationship, you're going to have to not be so rude about it. And I think Lindsay was caught off guard from that. And at the same time, it was something she needed to hear. It was something she really needed to hear. I don't know if it's something she's going to really, I don't know if it's something she's really going to work at. But it was great for her to at least hear it and kind of be able to sit in the seat of accountability a little bit. I really wanted Mark to speak up more. That was what was missing for me in their visit with Dr. Viviana. It seemed like he's still protecting Lindsay's feelings. He's still maybe, scared and cautious about having a lash out, because when he does say any type of correction, she attacks. I don't see this pattern, continuing to nurture a healthy relationship with these two. They did even talk about in their visit too about how the other person doesn't feel like the other person trusts them. And so Dr. Viviana, she checked in with them, and they both said, that they do trust the other person. But I wanted to know, and I was curious about what's causing that doubt. What's causing that doubt for Lindsay to make her feel that Mark doesn't trust her? And what's causing that doubt for Mark to feel that Lindsay doesn't trust him? And what do they need to see? And what do they need to know for sure? What do they need to know for sure in order to feel secure in the trust in their relationship? And what do they need to see from the other partner as well? Not to say that both partners, not to say that Mark and Lindsay need to do what the other person needs to see, but it can help to get a picture for them of what trust need, of what's missing in the relationship, to see if either are going to be able to bend for each other, or either of them are going to bend and be flexible in this relationship to help build that security and trust. I don't see that happening just with Mark's voice being pretty muted through their relationship. And it was great to see, them have some fun, the Nerf gun fight. Lindsay's still in attack mode though. Poor Mark, he can't, he can't win. And even with the, the sex exercise where he was putting on the ball gag and all the other toys, which I really, feel, and it seemed like Mark was not comfortable with any of that. And at the same time, he was, willing to embrace and have fun. And I think in this situation, that's okay, right? Because we're just having a moment and we're just having fun. But in the situation of a relationship, you can't just power through and kind of let the other person have their way, because Lindsay, she's going to kind of bulldoze her over him. He's going to be unhappy and then grow to really resent her. You know, so I don't know if he's just like kind of doing what he needs to do in order to get through these 8 weeks in a peaceful way and just say, hey, I feel like we need to have a divorce. That's potentially what I feel like is happening. But if this relationship is going to work, if what he's saying is actually true, then he's going to need to speak up to make this relationship work. And Lindsay's going to have to listen to him. Listen to him and adjust her behavior. I don't see that actually happening in reality for this couple. Last but not least, we have Olajuwon and Katina. And it was really challenging and hard to watch this couple for parts of the episode. You know, as they were still kind of in a space of recovering from last week, and Olajuwon's, you know, anger towards Katina, and really his verbal abuse that was happening at the dinner. Tina is saying that she feels like she's disappointing herself and her husband, and feeling like Olajuwon is attacking her insecurities. We all have areas where we are not as confident as other areas, and we lean to our strengths and we maximize those. And we have areas where we try to like, ooh, don't pay attention to that dark corner over there, right? And so what Olajuwon is doing for Katina is putting her dark corner on blast and feeling and making her feel that she doesn't have worth because of those areas where she is lacking. And he doesn't seem to have the language to really encourage her in this area, or to even appreciate where she is moving towards him. Dr. Viviana was trying to get to or get through to Olajuwon to see what is under these expectations of cooking and cleaning for Katina. I'm still pretty curious as to like what is it that's making him so activated about this, so making this such a huge point in their relationship, because this could definitely be, again, something that's like a long-term goal. Something like, okay, let's plan around this. How are we going to do this? How's this going to work in our relationship? I'm going to work to build this skill. You know, Katina can work to build the skill of cooking. It's going to take time. What I was picking up from Olajuwon in their session is that he's looking really for Katina to validate his feelings, like what he feels matters. Like he feels like cooking and cleaning is something that's important to him, and he's wanting to see her really attend to his feelings more about that, right? And at the same time, he's also wanting her to be vulnerable, more vulnerable with her feelings about how she feels about him. And so it was great for him to express that, and Katina to receive that, and also for her to speak up for herself about how his behavior is impacting her. I'm really hoping that Olajuwon can build some skills with communication, and I'm hoping too, because you know, he has this expectation of vulnerability and wanting her to be vulnerable, and then it's also kind of hard to be vulnerable when you are being attacked, you know, in areas of your insecurities. I'm hoping that they engaged in a conversation about like what's going to create a safe space for them, what's going to create a safe space for the vulnerability in their relationship, or the intimacy in their relationship to grow. They definitely care for each other, and because they are married at first sight, they're still building their trust, where usually when you are, well, usually and hopefully, if you are marrying someone in a traditional sense where you've been engaged and you've been in a long-term relationship, the trust is a little bit more, the trust is much more secure. And so we see this even too as they are playing with the sex toys and the putting on the costumes, that they are, you know, engaging in fun and play and able to connect. So I'm really rooting for them. I'm rooting for them. And they have a lot of work to do in the area of communication. Katina seems to, as Olajuwon said during the after party, like she communicates with him a certain way on camera and then a certain way off camera. And he actually appreciates that she knows when to address things with him. And I'm hoping he can find that same discernment, or learn that skill from Katina. I'm still hopeful for Katina and Olajuwon, as they have until they speak each other's language. She's able to communicate with him. He just needs to grow in this area of communication and relax these expectations. Relax these expectations, Olajuwon. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment below, tell me what you think about these couples. Are they gonna make it? And as always, be cool, be calm, be centered.